Hard to believe we're at the end of the year.
I know, where did the year go, right?
I don't know. 2009, almost over. That means, of course, it's time for 2010, a new decade. Why not take a look back at the decade that was?
That's right, and there's a book that'll certainly help us do that. It's right over here. It's the World Almanac and Book of Facts 2010. The latest edition features a special decade in review, taking a look at the big events, forgotten favorites, and the lasting trends that came and went. Please welcome the Almanac's senior editor, Sarah Janssen.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
This is a pretty big deal as we go into a new decade.
Absolutely. I think people always like to take a look back and see what they've forgotten exactly in the last 10 years. You know, in 2000, Survivor first debuted. No one had an iPod.
Has it been that long?
It has really been that long.
No one had an iPod.
No one had an iPod. American Idol didn't start until 2002, and just look how much that's changed our culture.
What was life before American Idol?
You got me.
I have no idea, but I love the fact that the Almanac is one of those things that's been around for so long. And really, when I was a kid, we had the encyclopedias,
exactly,
and then the Almanac.
It's neat to look at.
Absolutely. It's everything under the sun, all of the most essential facts that you need day to day, right there at your fingertips.
And I know in this age where you have the Wikipedias and all those online resources, this is still relevant, right?
Absolutely.
How do you keep it current?
I mean, that actually, the internet makes our job a lot more fun, a lot more interesting, because there are so many more sources out there that we get to choose from. We pick all the best ones and we put it all in the Almanac. We check it all for you so you don't have to go through yourself.
Now, do you actually, as editor, do you actually look through and go with a fine-tooth comb through all of these facts?
Oh, yeah.
And is there
Very
anything
much so.
that probably stood out the most in this whole big, juicy book?
You know, there's always a ton of new, surprising information. I was really surprised to find out things like, well, for example, the sales of cars were down over 30% in the last year. And I think that wouldn't surprise too many people, but the number was startling. It's something like 450,000 to 300,000, which is huge.
That's a big drop.
It's a huge drop.
How do you decide what's in the book and what gets kept out?
Well, what we do is we are paying attention to the news throughout the year, paying attention to things that are relevant to Americans, that are interesting to Americans, and then we get together and we just sort of decide what's most important, what's going to be most important in the year to come, and for people, students, that can look at the World Almanac as a resource for all of that in the year to come.
And a decade in review, when did you start that?
Oh, gosh.
Was it last year?
No, it was kind of like a lengthy process, actually. I mean, we looked at the last 10 years of almanacs, we looked at the last 10 years in archives, and the World Almanac editors decided that these were the moments that best encapsulated the last decade.
So you came up the best stuff.
Yeah,
we kind of came up with a little game so that we could, I guess, talk about the World Almanac so that people could know there's all kinds of fun facts. I mean, anything is in there, from agrarian facts to sports facts to musical facts. Anything is in there. So we came up with a game, a quiz, to kind of recap 2009. And are you going to ask me the questions? Is that how this is going to work?
That's what I heard. We won't be too hard on you,
both of us. All right, so the first question right there off the screen is, which Phillies pitcher threw a complete game with 10 strikeouts in Game 1 of the 2009 World Series? I know the answer.
I know.
The answer. No? Anybody, audience? Can somebody yell it out? Cliff Lee!
Oh, yeah, I did know that.
We have an audience full of Phillies fans.
Very nice.
We did know that.
I know, we did know that.
We just got to, pull out the dust.
We only said his name so many times in the newscast, right?
I know, and we talked about him because he's no longer a Philly. Look at that. Well, okay, so what TV show starring a Pennsylvania native has won the Best Comedy Emmy 3 years in a row? It's interesting that you would include television trivia as well, because it's got to be pop culture, everything.
Pop culture is a big part of the World Almanac.
All right, you want to give us a hint?
Well, she grew up in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. She wears glasses.
I know this one. Go
Tina
for it.
Fey.
Tina Fey, of course.
On 30
3 years in a row.
3 years in a row.
And
they've
she
won
created
Best
that
Comedy.
show.
Yeah, it's all her, supposedly. So it's pretty exciting for a Philadelphia native to be that accomplished.
I just kind of want to rub her elbow. Okay, so I'll let you read the next one.
Okay, so this is a funny one. How many pounds of ice cream do you think the average American eats in a year?
I'm trying to bring it down to pints.
Yeah, right.
And actually, Aditi is probably an exception because she eats
Because I probably eat so much more than the average American.
What do you think?
10?
It's actually 14.
Oh, wow.
And when you compare
14
that,
a lot of ice cream.
when you compare that to only about 5.5 pounds of broccoli per year, we've got some catching up to do.
We have our priorities straight.
I love it. Okay, then the final question.
The final question. Okay, so the Winter Olympic Games are coming up in February. Everyone's
Yes.
really excited. What country led the overall medal count in the last 3 Winter Olympic Games?
Winter Olympic Games.
Winter Olympic
Winter
Games.
Olympics. It's very
Anybody have a guess? Want to throw something out? Russia. That's a good guess.
That is a good guess. It's actually
Oh.
Germany.
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 Well, I think the U.S. would be close behind.
We were in second with 25. Germany had 29.
I would
so
think one of the Scandinavian countries where
Yeah.
there's colder climate.
I guess Germany sort of has that colder climate. So the U.S. has
Fascinating.
a good prospect, I think, to take it this year, though.
Well, I love it. Thank you so much, Sarah. And the good thing is, not only do you have the World Almanac and Book of Facts for 2010, but it also comes in a kids version.
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
kid-friendly.
And if you flip through, there's tons of really colorful
Oh,
pages.
nice.
All kid-friendly, lots of really interesting stuff on
You're
video
talking about the
games.
internet in here,
Safe
grammar.
searching on the internet, absolutely fashion. It's all right there in the World Almanac for kids, too.
Yeah, and
warming.
these are the perfect colors to keep them like, oh,
Engaged
wow, ooh,
and interested,
Sarah
absolutely.
Janssen. Everybody in the studio audience is going home with a copy of the World Almanac book. Thank you so much for being here, Sarah. The Decade in Review.